Hi, everyone. My name is Katie Grana. I am a program manager with This Is My Brave, and we have another one of our cast interviews going on tonight to introduce our 2020 Storytellers. Tonight, we have Lydia Jackson from the Houston cast and Melissa Nolan, who's the producer of the Houston show this year. So, Lydia, what is it that brought you to This Is My Brave? Like, how'd you find This Is My Brave, and what made you want to audition?
I think that I saw it actually on like a casting advertisement on Backstage, because I'm also like a singer, performer, actor, and I temporarily, I think, was just a free trial on Backstage or something like that, and it was like a casting call for poets, creatives, singers, songwriters, all that stuff. But what really caught my attention was the mention and the focus on mental health. And so I don't remember exactly what it said, but I just remember reading it and being like, oh, that's me. That is literally me. I need to be a part of that.
So cool. And I don't know if we'd really talked about this before. I hope it's okay, Lydia, but you're one of the very special people to me because you came out in 2019 for the show.
Yes.
And you performed poetry. And we were unable to cast you that year, and you came back and you opened your mouth and sang for us, and we were like, oh my God. So what did it feel like to get cast in the show this year?
It was really great. And if you don't mind, if I could say a little bit more about background and what you just said, that yes, I had, like, I didn't have like a song prepared when I first auditioned in 2019, but I was feeling that that spirit and that urge welling up inside of me even already at that time to start songwriting again. Because right when I auditioned in 2019 for the first time, I had just gone through the most devastating breakup that I had experienced, and it was all just like this impetus to get me to really start focusing my creativity. And then the fact that I auditioned with poetry and that y'all were like, oh, we love it, but we already have enough poets. If you had auditioned with a song, maybe it would have been different. That in itself actually got me to write the song, the first song I'd actually written in over 15 years, and was the same song that I auditioned with this year. And so when I was cast, it really just felt like, I don't know, not just full circle, not just like meant to be, but like even more special than that, because the audition itself was part of the reason why I started songwriting again.
So, I mean, that's really cool. So you already have a story with This Is My Brave.
Yeah.
Because this whole year in and of itself is obviously its own entity that we haven't experienced before. And the process is a lot more drawn out than it normally is. So with that on top of you waiting since 2019 to be part of the show, which thank you for coming back. That means so much to all of us. And I'm sure that means a lot to your producers as well. But what was it like when you found out that we had to postpone the shows and then we were going to a completely virtual platform?
Yeah, it was definitely, disappointing. But at the same time, the acknowledgement of the reasons why it was so, important and necessary to postpone it, just y'all acknowledging that that was necessary was actually, like, I appreciated it. Because, it's been tricky with different places in the world and different governments, having very, very different responses to the whole situation. And so it's definitely been bittersweet, and there's been a little bit of a grieving process, but it's like I have so much more appreciation and admiration for the different organizations that I've been connected with, whether it's y'all or like, other, things where other performances or other like art markets or things that I maybe had planned. When those organizations say like, hey, we're taking this seriously and we want to protect everyone's health and we're going to do whatever it takes to make sure that that's the first priority, like that's the most important thing to me. And so like whatever disappointment I had was, far outweighed by my just being appreciative of y'all's, prioritizing everyone's health and safety. And furthermore, like, I keep thinking about that, you know, Miley Cyrus song, It's the Climb, that I've just really been enjoying the journey, being involved with This Is My Brave so far. You know, the first couple rehearsal meetings that we had, and I think only one in person that I was actually able to attend. And then right after that in March was kind of when things hit the fan. But even, you know, all the connections through the Zoom meetings here and there, even though I've been like, you know, not able to attend all of them, but just still like all the connections and all of the ways that we've been able to sort of still collaborate and still share with each other and check in with each other throughout this whole process has been really, really valuable to me. So it just feels like I'm part of this family. And so it's like, even if the actual performance, the showcase itself, might be like this carrot on a stick that just keeps being kind of like, you know, pulled further and further on. It's like, it's not even like that, because I'm actually really enjoying just what we're able to do and all the ways that we're still able to connect despite everything going on.
Definitely. Aw, you're so wonderful. I guess for me, like, COVID has been pretty tough, you know, and just the show being postponed and being taken virtually. But just in general, you know, has it affected you at all with your mental health, or how is maybe, you know, being a part of this helped a little bit?
Oh yeah. So I was actually laid off from my full-time job because of COVID, because, you know, it was a marketing agency. And so their clients were already, you know, foreseeing the impact and cutting their budgets. So I was one of the layoffs because of COVID. So, you know, it was a huge change. But even though, you know, all the changes and the grief that comes along with having to close those chapters, I'm very grateful that, like, my intuition, my higher self, my spirit guides, whatever, I just definitely had this sort of like core knowing of like, this is okay. This is meant to be. This is supposed to happen for me personally, as far as leaving that job behind. And then I moved, you know, a couple months later, and moving in the middle of a pandemic. Oh my goodness. So it really has affected my mental health in a lot of ways. And I'm very grateful to say, like, not all of them negatively, because again, it's sort of forced me to have to prioritize things differently, and, you know, forced me to have to be even more grateful for those social support networks and, you know, the connections that I have with not just This Is My Brave, but like my other friends, and you know, it's made us all have to be even more appreciative, you know, and not take for granted all of our different like social connections and our social safety nets. But it certainly has been very, very challenging. I struggled with very severe social anxiety before the pandemic, when it wasn't a life and death matter to have people within, you know, your personal space bubble. So, you know, since the pandemic, it's been, you know, I can't explain how much more magnified that social anxiety is. It's very hard to even put into words, now that it really can be a matter of death, life or death, when someone is invading my personal space. So it's been extremely challenging whenever I've had to go out in public. But at the same time, I'm very, very grateful that I'm in a position and in a situation in my life where, you know, I've been able to get unemployment and do work from home here and there. And so I'm really not having to go out in public that often. And so I'm just incredibly grateful for that. But it certainly has been, you know, like I'm sure for everyone else, just like however much anxiety we were already living with, it's just like doubled or tripled, or, you know, it's hard to say how much it's been compounded by. But yeah, it's been extremely challenging, but at the same time, like I said, it just makes me all the more grateful for those things that are helping me keep myself healthy, the things that are helping me to kind of just like stay afloat. It's just, you know, placed so much more importance on that.
Yeah, I hear you, Lydia. And I think every one of these interviews that we've done so far with the 2020 Storytellers, we've all kind of mentioned a silver lining that we've tried to find in this situation. and it's difficult, and I still don't always have the best days personally, and I don't think anyone on this phone call does, but we get through it, and it is nice to have that sense of community with us. So one last thing that I wanted to ask, first of all, say that we will take the stage one day. We don't know when that will be yet, but we will take the stage one day. So when you take the stage in the future with your Houston cast, do you think that your song and your message will be the same as it is this year, or do you think that it will be a little bit different?
I'm sure it will be different. It will be different because I'm different. Mm-hmm. I think that that's probably true for most people, is that, this whole situation is forcing us to make changes. And so it's kind of like, whether, even if I sing the same song that I was planning on singing at the beginning of the year, I'm going to be different. So it's sort of like, whether I like it or not, it's going to be different. But it's kind of hard to say for me, because I'm very proud to say I've written several more songs since the beginning of the year, and even more since the pandemic. So I do have a lot more material and a lot more that I'd love to share. So it's like I can and I could, but it doesn't like have to. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think even from what I am producing the St. Louis show, and I think even what I would have said had our show been in April will be different from what I'll be saying in October to what I will be saying whenever we get on the stage. I think all of us already dealing with mental health issues, mental illness, we've gone through some changes, and we've had to all reach into our toolbox of recovery and find some new tools that maybe we haven't used in a while, and regroup for the here and now. So yeah, we'll see what happens, but we'll definitely get you on stage one day. And is there anything else that you wanted to add in before we finish up? Any piece that you want the audience to take from, or what do you want the audience to take from your piece in the show?
Definitely, if nothing else, that acknowledging our pain is so important. And in most cases, I think that's the first step to, whether it's just like resolving a conflict with a friend or a loved one, or whether it's resolving your own trauma and healing, just acknowledging how much pain and acknowledging your emotions and being able to hold space for them, no matter how big, how intense, how diverse, how crazy, that acceptance is so important. And that's why my song Pain, I hope that's what it brings to light. And another thing that I should have mentioned earlier on, because I'm always forgetting to mention this, but I'm a veteran, and I have a 90% disability rating. And sometimes I even forget that I was in the Navy, because it feels so far, that time in my life feels so far from who I am and where I am now. But at the same time, it's really important, again, for me to acknowledge that was such a big part of my life and my journey. And so I also just mentioned that to hopefully encourage other veterans, whether they're artistic, creative, or not, that, your healing is a priority, and your pain is valid, and you're not alone.
Oh, I love that. And thank you for your service, Lydia.
Yeah.
We really appreciate you, and thanks for giving us some time of yours to do this interview. Thank you, Melissa, for being here.
Thanks, Katie.
Yeah, and we will catch Lydia's original song on Sunday, October 4th with the rest of the Houston cast. So thank you so much, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you both. Bye.
Bye.